Sliding out of the cult-ridden subterranean tangle of the sump, we are the lost spark of the cathode tubes of history. The light which holds back all that darkness. The true voice of Vox-Free Innsmouth, 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio. Coming to you live tonight from Bob's Basement Basket.
No matter how soothing y'all find Gobbo's pipes, and I mean compared to mine, you're smoking some of the fungi weed. At least the weather is actually pleasant across the Underhive. Nice, even perfect weather. With a side of blood-curdling screams.
I'm confused as to how the sauce can simultaneously be a powerful degreaser and leave oil stains. What is this stuff made out of? Four-armed emperor blood?
In Hive news, the Lex Arcana districts are on lockdown as the gargantuan fusion turbines suffered a meltdown earlier this week. Make sure to stay out of that ice melt unless you want a few extra arms.
Would that help, Drew, with mopping? Like, could you clean better if you had like an extra one or two?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I like that. Yeah, I will take some gene mods so I can clean faster.
We are the solid beacon in the peerless depths of the shadow consuming the Underhive, and I'm your one and only Goblin King. Joined, as always, by my partners in Vox-based criminality, the Scream Queen herself, Emmy.
Join Ghosts Without Morals this weekend at Misfit Alley, opening for the insane Quinn posse at the Gathering of the Harlequins, sponsored by Red Swig. They'll be debuting a peach flavor. Whoop whoop.
And our very own Toxic Redeemer, the Duke of Deodorizing, as masterful with a mop as an Astartes is with a bolter. It's Drew.
Well, we now know what happens when I plug all of the floor polishers into one outlet.
You got to split them up by the GFCI, dude. You got to.
There are no GFCIs in the Underhive. You know this.
That's not... That's the weirdest named machine spirit I've ever heard.
How many power bars can I plug into one outlet? All of them.
Just daisy chaining for days.
That's right. Is it an extension cord? Is it a power bar? Yes.
Welcome to Under the Hive of Madness, episode 125, Horus Heresy, the Dark Brotherhood, part 2. In the last episode, we talked about the bulk of the conflict between the Alpha Legion and the Dark Brotherhood that raged across the Pale Stars, until the Imperium's envoy, Lorne Orpheus, arrived. And it's there that we're going to pick back up.
God, I love the story. I think it's really fun. I am fascinated by all of the... I mean, I like the idea that, like, we've got some rebels that are rebels, right? There's no, like... Also, there's secret chaos. No, they're just some space marines who just decided to fuck off and do whatever they wanted and have a good time. And I love that.
Hell yeah.
I really like renegade space marines. And I wish that was still a thing. It's why I'm building Ashen Claws. But yeah, I wish it was still a bigger part of the main storyline.
That big change came around second edition when they did that big Chaos Codex. And they're like, also, remember the Badab War? We did that whole thing. It's back, but now we have painted it with a thick coat of chaos black. You know, like they're just like,
yeah.
Oh, it turns out Left Huron in the end actually was chaos, and like that's the Red instead of the Red Corsairs just being rebels, which they were for a long time. You know,
yeah, they were up until like 5th edition. I feel like that was like. I definitely get what they're going. They're attempting to simplify the game, which makes sense. But it's the nuance that I feel a lot of the stories live in.
And like it's still like they've tried to gin up other sort of like narrative reasons as to why on the table you can have, I don't know, like the Iron Fists and the Ultramarines fighting, but like or the Imperial Fists rather, and the Ultramarines fighting. But like why not let there be renegades instead?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. And also, you guys, for $3, $6, or $9 a month for a limited time, until our legacy tiers run out, you can find us on patreon.com/Under the Hive of Madness. We talked about the subject extensively in a previous Patreon exclusive episode. So what you get with Patreon is you do get the Patreon exclusive episode. It's usually an hour plus of us yapping about Warhammer 40K and assorted video games. You also get the video versions of these podcasts, so you can see all of us We do all have radio faces, but maybe you enjoy that. And I'm kidding.
I mean, I
Wow.
definitely have a face for radio,
I
but
do
I didn't want to put
too.
that on anybody else.
I definitely have a radio face. And whatever we happen to be yapping about, Ryan will have it up on the screen. So if we're talking about some random anime character and you're like, "Who the fuck is that?" Yeah, Drew's got his Kakashi shirt on right now. You can see that, and there's a bit of a visual explanation. So come join us on Patreon. No toes, sorry. But we do have sort of like a battle of the yeah, they're the grippers. Thanks, Drew. We do have a little planet
Oh my God.
bracket happening, so
hmm You're welcome.
You're all welcome. Free feet. Not free feet, but feet with Patreon.
It was 3 feet.
3 feet, not free feet. But for as low as $3 a month, you can see feet.
You have 3 sets of toes.
Go to
Oh man.
go to 40kfeet.com and you can see all of the good foots.
So to jump all the good foots. So to jump back into the story of the Dark Brotherhood and the Pale Stars, we're going to pick right back up right after Lorn Orpheus has sent his sprinter onto Terra with that desperate message. His message to the Council of Terra was close to a full accounting of the horrors that had consumed the Pale Stars as he had currently available. As much information as he could gather in, Lorn Orpheus, the rogue trader Lorn Orpheus, put into this missive. He put it on one of his fastest ships and he just immediately sent it out. He also detailed the warp phenomenon that had assailed his vessels as they braved the storms, and of crewmen driven to rabid insanity and the bloodbath that had ensued upon his own ships. He described apparitions that had tormented them as they plied the turbulent Imperium, and which lingered still at the edge of vision even days after they had translated back into real space, recounting something of the unfettered, impenetrable insanity that had drowned the Vox channels, the flood of pain and horror which the few surviving astropaths were broadcasting far and wide. He concluded his message by informing them that he intended to descend to the burning surface of Fargus Rex. In the map, it's Fargus Hex,
Okay.
but I swear it was written Fargus Rex at one point.
I mean,
Anyway,
It's classified.
Both are stupid
it is
names.
classic. Yeah, it's gone now. Both are stupid names.
They
gonna
are.
say.
They are.
He was going to descend to the surface of Fargus Rex and seek out any vestige of authority in an effort to fulfill his message. Wow.
Missives?
In an effort to fulfill his mission. I don't know what was going through my head. And to learn the identity of the individual whose name and face appeared in so many of the communications that had reached his ship, the Nemean. Yeah, the planet naming convention is either interesting or really lazy or really aggravating. One of the things that always kind of bugged me, but it's a very kind of bugged me, is they'll be in like the Hexus system.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. And the planets are Hexus 1, Hexus 2, Hexus 3, and Hexus 4. And
Right.
like I get it from a writing standpoint, because you do kind of get to a point where you're like, I can't come up with anything else right now.
Mhm.
That's exactly how it is on the video game EVE Online as well.
Oh yeah.
You jump in and you're like, oh, I'm going to do my Veldspar mining on Verigny 4. And you're like, oh yeah, Eldolf 6. There's some real shit going on down there.
In Eve's defense, though, most of the planets are not habitable or not habitated. I mean, like in wild space, there's a lot of places that you go and mine where they're just empty. I mean,
okay,
yeah.
yes, fair.
As to where in Warhammer 40k, they'll be like, and Marnius Calgar faced down Angron on Lepididus 3, the primary forge world of the Dharmakrokian sector that specializes in alligator meat, and they'll go into all this detail, and it's like, you couldn't have named it something other than whatever the
Right?
fucking system's name 3 was. You literally just described the space alligator economy of this entire system. But
Fucking space alligators.
we'll talk about crotalids at some
I
point.
would like a space alligator based economy. That sounds nice.
Hey, that sounds fucking cool.
Your alligator meat, you got your alligator meat, you got your alligator leather, you got your alligator claws, you got your alligator.
We got the zippy zap seasoning for them gators.
Oh, zippy zap.
It would be many solar weeks before Orpheus's message runner reached Terra, and the fact that it survived the return voyage at all was nothing short of a miracle. Meanwhile, in the Pale Stars, the horrors only intensified many times over. The void boiled as otherworldly energies burst across space. The skies above each planet tore into livid wounds, out of which seethed the impossibility of insanity. The anarchy that had greeted Orpheus at Fargus Rex cascaded outwards and overtook each and every world in the region. Millions rising up and tearing down planetary governments before turning upon their own. Ruling bodies were compelled to flee the rioting hordes and abandon any pretense of control. Imperial commanders finding their authority entirely reliant upon the support of the Alpha Legion. Across the worlds of the Pale Stars, Ajax's commanders deployed Legion assets to defend the rulers from their own rebelling populations, making him the de facto power in the region, able to precipitate the downfall of entire planetary governments simply by withdrawing his forces and allowing the mobs to exact their bloodthirsty vengeance. Even those rulers not under siege by their own people were acutely aware that their planetary defense forces were directly controlled by the Alpha Legion, leaving them tied to Ajax for protection from the Dark Brotherhood. At a stroke, the Pale Stars had fallen to the traitor cause.
Why on earth would anybody trust anything to a legion that, like, we don't even know if, like, Omegon's real? Like,
because I mean, what other
why
choice do
trust
you?
Alpha Legion? Like, it's like, oh, we're trusting Alpha Legion, and we're at the mercy of fucking Alpha Legion. These people are cooked.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
They fucked around and they found out.
They really did.
I mean, your choices are, at this point, as a planetary government, your choice is accept Horus, because the Alpha Legion is here on Horus's behalf, or literally get ripped limb for limb by your own people.
Okay, yeah. But, like, neither one is a good choice.
Oh no, it's rock in a hard place, or frying pan in the fire. I mean, whatever of those you want to.
So, like,
grip.
Temporally, and we did talk about this a little bit last week. Like, is this the first major? Like, because at this point, okay, we know that like Horus is rebelling. If I am I don't know, some kind of like imperial I don't know, bureaucrat,
planetary
or
government, or something.
Yeah, like I know that there's a rebellion, but how widespread is it known that like he's fallen to chaos, like that, like the demons are out there? Like this is like the first like, wait, the Alpha Legion showed up, and then this entire system was swallowed by demons. Like the fuck. Yeah.
And the Alpha Legion is the only thing that can protect you from the demons.
Mm.
So as much as it looks to like the layman, which is I think the question you're kind of asking, the Alpha Legion are the good guys. The fact that it's the blood that they're shedding that's causing the demon, like none of that's understood by the common person, even by the higher ups in power. Pretty much the only ones that kind of really know what's going on right now are, and they're not even here yet, are the Knights-Errant and Malkador. And like, you could possibly make an argument that the Nemean knows, but we don't know because we don't really get a lot from his direct perspective. I think the really kind of creepy thing here is that Lorn Orpheus goes down to Fargus Rex or Fargus Hex surface to like try to like reestablish some sort of connection, and then literally the next thing we hear is, the whole planet falls to like infighting and bloody rebellion. So what happened to the rogue trader? Yeah, we don't talk about him anymore. He served his purpose. He sent his message. He dead now.
Yikes.
And I'm sure there is more to his story. There isn't more to his story that pertains to the Dark Brotherhood specifically, but
As the galaxy burned, countless worlds would become lost for all time. Consumed by the raw stuff of the warp, their names struck from the stellar cartographs, their approaches seeded with navigational warning buoys. The ruined storm had made warp travel all but suicidal, and astro-telepathic communication was nearly impossible. Was that thunder?
That was thunder.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was
where
a
was
big one.
that? It wasn't me.
It's
No,
where I
that's-
am. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Tuesday it was
yeah.
me.
Right.
Friday.
The storm that was here last night would be up in your guys' territory now.
Yeah, it's got it across the top there.
Yeah, EF3 wedge tornado in South Dakota from the stuff that you were getting. Crazy times. Anyways.
I think somebody fucked up on the map because everywhere I can find it written, at least in the 2 books that I've got PDFs of, it's Fargus Rex.
Fargus
not
Rex.
Fargus Hex.
That makes
But
sense.
in the map, in the same PDF, it's Hex. I don't know. Anyway.
This was a fate, it seemed, which Pale Stars were headed for, and a fate that would have become a certainty if Orpheus's message had never arrived. But it did somehow survive the trip back to Terra, and one important detail in his message had caused it to be routed directly for the attention of Malkador the Sigillite, region of Terra. That detail was the naming of the leader of the Dark Brotherhood. The Nemean was already known to Malkador, for he was one of 20 legionaries identified by the former Luna Wolf Severian. Remember, the Sigillite had tasked Severian with identifying a set of warriors who Malkador would gather under his direct command. The Knights-Errant. It fell to the most senior of these, the Agentia Primus Nathaniel Garro, to go forth into the galaxy and recruit all 20 to his master's cause. With this knowledge in hand, Garro was dispatched to the Pale Stars, his mission to return with the leader of the Dark Brotherhood at his side, so that the Nemean might swear himself to the cause of Malkador the Sigillite.
So we do get a little bit more information on Orpheus later on, but yeah, he just kind of blips out of the story at this point because his purpose is fulfilled in getting this message back.
Right.
But it's really interesting to me because a lot of the decision on how everything is moving after this message comes from him is based on Severin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it almost feels like the Nemean would be old enough that Malkador probably knows him. Like from the rumors that we know.
Mm-hmm.
He fought on Terra. He has armor that predates Space Marine armor. That Space Marine armor may have been based on. He's definitely first. Well, we think he's first Legion Terran born.
Yes.
So you would feel like Malkador would be like, oh yeah, I know this guy.
Oh, that guy.
But it's also kind of left up. I don't know. I feel like there's a relationship between Severin and Malkador that we only get hints of, I guess, is kind of what I'm driving at. Like how much of this is Severin and how much of this is Malkador? Like, you know what I mean? Like where does that not partnership, but like work relationship? Where's the line? Yeah.
What's the lore here?
Yeah. And it's I mean, all of the Knights-Errant stuff. It's kind of fun too to kind of bookend this chunk of our Horus Heresy with the Dark Brotherhood because we bookended the last with the Knights-Errant, and this is very related to the Knights. You know, Nathaniel's still gathering everybody. The Grey Knights haven't happened yet. That conversation hasn't happened yet. So.
Well, especially like the obvious crossover of we are looking for this guy. He's an important part of this because he's been around for a long time, and Malkador went to high school with him or whatever. And
I love that.
But of course, it coincides with the most major demon outbreak, sort of in the conflict at this point, right? Like,
yeah, kind of one of the biggest ones that we've talked about. It's an entire star system essentially falling to a warp storm. And again, like if it hadn't been for this message getting out, that's it. Like this entire star system just gets written out of history. It's never talked about again.
Mhm.
Like, that's the level of cataclysm that's happening.
Right.
The herald approaches 017.008.m31. So we get a little bit more than just happening in the 8th year here.
That's good.
The Greyhold dagger-proud warp sprinter
Eusebian?
Ebsebian?
Eusebian.
Eusebian. The E would be silent. Eusebian herald
I think
plunged
I
from the churning.
saw Sasha Grey use one.
True.
Sorry, I just picked a name that I know is famous.
I know Mia Malkova has one.
My go-to for years was Chasey Lane, and at some point, somebody it may have been my partner. She was like, "No one knows who Chasey Lane is anymore. You need to update your."
The worst is when you say that and someone says, "Oh, they died tragically," which
Oh yeah, there's
like
a couple of those.
I said something about Jenna Jameson at one point, and somebody was like, "You know that she can't walk anymore, or like without
What?
a cane," and I'm like, "Oh, that's sad."
Jenna Jameson can't walk anymore without a cane?
Yeah, she like broke her hip or something. I think it was short-lived, but I don't. These are not people that I actually follow. They're just like names I know because they were spoken a lot when I was younger.
Sure.
All right. So the Herald approaches 007.008.m31. The Greyhold dagger-proud warp sprinter Eusebian Herald plunged from the churning warp storm, closing in upon the outlying system of Optera, a trail of rapidly dissolving warp stuff forming a kilometers-long contrail in her wake. The ship was a mastercraft of Saturn's shipwrights and utilized hybrid technologies jealously guarded by the Terawatt clans of ancient Terra and denounced as heresy by the Martian priesthood. Not only had she survived the tempest, carrying her passengers safely through the now mostly impenetrable warp, which cut off the pale stars, but she had made the journey in mere solar weeks. A voyage few would have dared and less would have survived. Aboard the Eusebian Herald was a contingent of Grey Knights, Nathaniel Garro, formerly of the Death Guard, Callian Zavin, once a member of the Emperor's Children, and Tylos Rubio, a scion of the Ultramarines. Each legionary had been named by Severin, and the Sigillite had foreseen that they would each prove vital in averting the fall of the Imperium and combating what he prophesied would come in its aftermath. In the Dark Brotherhood and their mysterious leader, Malkador hoped to secure another weapon for his long and silent war against the darkness. It's also hinted at that Malkador is on the Eusebian Herald. There's no confirmation, but there's a couple of times in the lore that it's stated that Malkador is there, that the Sigillite is with them. But it's one of those things where it's like, like may the force be with you sort of things almost. Like, is it the Sigillite is with us, or is it literally like, oh no, he's on the ship? It's very hard to tell whether or not it's which side of that coin it is.
So at this,
I like to think that he's there, though. It feels like he's there. It feels like this is a gravitas-esque moment.
How much of what's going on here in terms of like Malkador like anticipating or predicting things, how much does this have to do with his involvement with the Cabal?
That's a good question. I think at this point, Malkador has seen some of the stuff that's coming. So one of the things that happens in Malkador's history, and we'll probably cover it when we cover the Remembrancers a little bit more, because there's a couple of Remembrancers that we will cover in detail, Euphrates Keeler being one of them. But one of the things that happens at a certain point is that Malkador and the Emperor kind of know what's going to happen. They don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that the writing is essentially on the wall. The fact that the Imperium is going to suffer really, really badly, and it's going to kind of be plunged into a new dark age, and they're going to have to kind of think their way out of it or fight their way out of it, is kind of known to the both of them. And at this point, they're divided. Malkador is very much like, you need to lean into the Leviticus Devo. Is that the name of the book? The book that Logar wrote. Leviticus.
Oh, yeah. My Truth by me from Lorgar, right?
Leviticus. Crap. I can never remember. Levitico Divinitas. There we go. Which is essentially like, it's the religious text of the Imperium. It was written by Logar. It was then adopted by the cult of the Emperor. The cult of the Emperor exists at this point. People are beginning to believe that the Emperor is a god. The Emperor is still denying all of this, and Malgador is essentially seeing that, like, no, this belief in you as a god is making a psychic storm that we can pull on and use as a weapon, and we're going to have to. The librarians are going to have to come back out. Demons are, the shit that we were trying not to have happen by denying their existence, that we spent so long trying not to spill the milk that as soon as the milk was spilled, we have no way of dealing with it. And we have this way of dealing. We need to start using this. So there's kind of this like internal contention between Malgador and the Emperor at this time. And I feel that, kind of to get to what you were saying, Drew, is that Malgador kind of has in order to heal after the heresy, we're going to have to use all of these tools. And whether or not that comes from the Cabal or whether or not that comes from Eldrad, because, at this point, Eldrad has also kind of already posed the, like, look, the Eldari and humanity have to get together in order to stop this. It's not going to happen. Like, the Cabal's thing isn't going to work. The Emperor's thing isn't going to work. We have to try this other thing. So there's all these kind of, like, I guess, theories on how to conquer chaos or how to win against chaos that are happening in this time period.
Mm-hmm.
And Malgador is essentially doing what he thinks is right. Malgador is a very Gandalf-y figure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the kings don't agree with him, but he does it anyway.
Yep.
Wizard shit.
Yeah, wizard shit. I'm over here pondering my orbs. Upon arriving at Optera, Garro ordered his Astropath to send out a signal. Its allegorical cipher imprint unique and composed for this specific circumstance. The message could only be understood by an Astropath bound to the service of the Legionis Astartes. Its precise content only decipherable by one whose loyalties were to Terra. The message called for the recipients to gather at Optera, where Garro had chosen a ruined megalithic structure high atop a rocky plateau overlooking the cratered wastes of Optera 4 as the meeting place. It was a risky move to send out such a message, but in the Sigillites' view, the potential gain was well worth it. This is one of those things that's said where I'm like, Malgador is there. They don't state he's there ever, but like they say that Garro and Malgador came to the system early on. And there's other cases like here in the Sigillites' view. Okay, so the Sigillites on the ship with Garro, like it feels like that's what's happening. So the Astropath Mind Song went out across the storm-wrecked reaches of the Pale Stars. 20 solar days later, Nathaniel Garro conveyed his parley. In the shadows of the Cyclopean ruins, Cyclopean, thank you. In the shadows of the Cyclopean ruins of the ancient alien Fane, Garro and his fellow Knights-Errant waited in silence as the churning skies were split by the contrails of dozens of gunships and landing craft of varying design.
I think you mean chemtrails, sir.
Yes. Each circled about the ruined Fane before landing, and after a solar hour, the wide temple plaza had come to resemble the landing apron of a Legionis Astartes operation base. Garro, Zaven, and Rubio standing impassively at its center. Now, I thought we agreed that in order to be chemtrails, it had to be Death Guard drop pods.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, you're
Agreed. Also, Optera 4 definitely sounds like a weight loss medication.
I was thinking it was a pretty cool name for like a heavy metal, like operatic.
Oh, like opera, but also Pantera.
Yeah, exactly. It's the
I'm
opera
just thinking
Pantera.
like taking Optera twice a day may include such side effects as numbness, dizziness, chaos, heresy.
I was gonna say like taking Optera may result in bloodbaths, becoming enraged at your neighbor, like everything that's just happening in the
Thoughts
Pale
of
Stars.
secession against the Imperium of Man.
Okay, you guys remember
bloodletting?
the Colbert Report?
Of course, yes.
My favorite, like, sort of like bit that he did was when he was like talking about like when he was doing health news, and the segment was called "Cheating Death" with Stephen Colbert, and like he would,
Nice.
it was basically where he was making fun of Alex Jones quite a bit, where he's like he's talking about like different like supplements, and he's essentially just promoting drugs, and inevitably he has to list a bunch of the side effects for the drugs. and they're always
Right.
like ridiculous things, and that always made me laugh. So inevitably, when you guys were talking about the side effects of Optera 4, the first thing that came to my mind was a condition known as clumsy bowel.
Clumsy bowel.
Yeah. Like
In this case, it's clumsy allegiance.
Oops.
Because I imagine clumsy bowel is like your bowels just don't listen to you, right? So clumsy allegiance is like where you're walking down the street singing songs to the emperor, and then you're like, I don't know, that Erebus guy's got some good ideas.
You guys read this book? They're handing out leaflets at the I don't know,
at the space 7-Eleven.
The
What would 7-Eleven be called in the Warhammer 40? It'd just be called 7-Eleven.
No. It would be in the grand tradition of Warhammer. The number must be big, so it's going to be like 70,000, 11 million. You know,
but in Roman numerals.
Yeah, and it's,
oh my good God.
Yeah.
I wonder what the
It would
Slurpee flavors would be like, though. Like, would there be like
don't drink blood.
Ultramarines blue
blood.
Raspberry?
Blood for the blood god.
Don't drink the
Blood
green
for
one.
the blood god.
Don't drink the
Oh,
green
the
one.
green one would
Don't
definitely.
drink the green one. That's what it's called. Don't drink the green one.
Yeah.
It's called Nurgle's Rot.
Yeah.
Nurgle's right. There you go.
I do like the idea of like Bad Moon's banana, though.
I like that. That's good. Zinchian Freeze.
Is that
That's
like
the blue one. That's the electric blue
No.
one.
Okay.
It changes color.
Oh, that's true. Oh, it's like a color shift one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Zinchian's Freeze is when you do a suicide of all the flavors. Do you guys
Mhm.
remember doing suicides?
Yeah, I feel like Slanesh though would want you to do a suicide of like all the flavors. But yeah, I used to do
Experience
that.
everything.
Except I wouldn't do the diet and like, if I would do like the diet down the line or the regular, I would never just like straight do the diet or the regular or all the fruit flavors.
You don't think the Slanish one would be called Purple Nurple? And when you pay for it, the guy reaches across the counter and gives you a Purple Nurple?
No. See, technically,
I think the real spirit of Slanesh though would be all of them all the time.
You're right.
But when you get it at these 70,000, 11 million, the cashier reaches under the counter and hands you one of those. I don't know if you've ever seen the large feeding syringes.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's not designed to be taken by the mouth.
Oh.
The Slanish one is suppository Sunday.
Oh no.
Are we talking about Jenna Jameson again?
No, we're doing this Mr. Doggo dude style. We're shooting it right into the dick hole.
Okay.
The time that he put the G Fuel up his dick hole?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He didn't actually
I have
do that.
some G Fuel over there just for you to try.
You also have the clown juice. Don't forget
I
that.
do have all that weird pre-workout company with the psycho clowns lifting weights on it did send me some pre.
So this is a weird synchronicity. Somebody made a TikTok about Prime, the drink.
Prime, like the Gatorade.
Logan Paul's bullshit energy drink. And I had never seen Prime anywhere on the shelves. And then now it's fucking everywhere.
I don't like it.
Logan Paul was talking about how there was a period of time where there were some issues with some regulatory stuff in Canada, and they were pulling it off the shelves. And Logan Paul was stupid enough to get in front of a camera and be like, "We don't even distribute Prime in Canada." I'm like, I've lived in Canada my whole life. I have seen Prime on the shelves for a while, at major convenience stores and gas stations and stuff.
He doesn't know. He has no idea. He's getting sued by a bunch of people right now he is allegedly getting sued by a bunch of people right now.
That's definitely factual. Yeah.
But I think that a lot of it is that he doesn't actually know. I mean, he's the face of a company. I don't think he has enough time. Legitimately, I don't think he has enough time to really know what's going on.
Yeah, one could not possibly. Yeah, $65 million, I think, is what they're racking up. The Olympics is suing him and a few other people. Yeah, fun stuff. All right, moving on.
Anyway, back to the horrors of 40K rather than the horrors of YouTube.
Yeah. Back to the fictional dystopian future as opposed to the real one that we live in.
The fictional warp rather than the warp rift known as YouTube.
Yeah. At the appointed time, a dozen assault ramps lowered, and from each vessel a group of warriors emerged, some openly bearing Legion colors, others with heraldry deliberately obscured. If Garro and his fellow Knight-Errants were at all taken aback by the Legion colors before them, they hid their surprise behind stony countenances or blank-faced battle helms. In truth, however, aside from the black-clad reavers of the Dark Brotherhood, no one could have anticipated the presence of the two other legionaries. The first bore the distinctive red and gold of the Blood Angels, a legion which had vanished almost to a man, having been dispatched to the far galactic east almost 5 standard years earlier, not heard of since, while a small honor guard had been drawn by lots to remain on the Legion's homeworld of Baal. The remainder had mustered at the Nartaba system on orders issued by the War Master before his betrayal had been revealed at Istvan III. Garro was stunned to see the captain of the 300 companies before him, dispelling the tragedy of the Ninth Legion and their primarch, the Angel Sanguinius' extinction.
And sorry about just yelling Nuggets
At your
trying to
cat.
eat carpet, and it's exhausting.
What cats do. Cat, like our fur children in general are just
There's no reasoning with her.
tiny terrorists
Don't
at times.
don't listen. She's just
I guess if your tiny fur child has the name or nickname Nugget, they are tiny terrorists because Echo is also a tiny terrorist, and her primary nickname is Nugget. So,
everybody thought Sanguinius was dead at this point?
Yeah, so Sanguinius and the majority of the Blood Angels have not been seen in about 5 years. So they left to fight a demon, a bloodthirster, in another system. They had basically been dispatched to this other system, and Nartaba had been the system that they had mustered in. They had actually traveled into a different system. And when they had gotten there, they had basically, like, everything that could go wrong had gone wrong, and eventually a demon appears and tries to convince Sanguinius to fall to Horus. So Horus really wanted Sanguinius on his side because they had a very close relationship. They were very good friends. They were very good brothers. But Horus also knew that Sanguinius was going to be the hardest sell. So just like he did with the Lion and with Gilliman, those were the three. He basically made sure that he ordered them far enough away from the Istvan system that when he revealed his hand and did his initial plan, they would all be tied up. And the way that he tied Sanguinius up was he sent him off way off the beaten path in 004. So Sanguinius essentially falls off the map because this entire system that he's sent to is surrounded by a warp storm very quickly. And then this demon appears to Sanguinius in this final battle. We covered the battle in detail in a past episode. But big battle, demon tries to convince Sanguinius to fall. Sanguinius almost does fall, both physically and emotionally. He almost succumbs, but in the last minute, he's kind of saved by his own guys. They beat the crap out of the demon, and then they basically go about mopping up the rest of the system and removing the rest of the demons in the system. They basically do what they're supposed to. And
is that what you do as a space janitor, Drew? Is demon remains?
Demon removed.
I don't think they let
it on your card.
I don't think they let me touch that one. I thought that's yeah.
That's the Balter mop. It's like the Balter spear that the custodians have, but it's anyway.
Yeah. They call them the heavies for that one. Yeah, I'm allowed to clean up poop and stuff, but
so Nurglings is about the level.
Yeah. That counts.
But essentially, the big takeaway at this point is that no one knows where the Blood Angels are except for the 1,000 of them that are on Baal.
Yeah.
And Malkador, as we covered in the Knights-Errant episode, Malkador sends Garro to Baal to basically say, you guys need to give up all of your Legion holdings to us so they can be circulated through the legions that are still alive, and you guys all need to join the leader. I cannot remember the chapter master's, the sergeant's name. He was one of the people that Malkador wanted, who said, fuck you, no. And then the other 999 were supposed to disperse to the other legions. And that guy was like, fuck you, no. And right at that moment where he said, fuck you, no, a message came through from Sanguinius and was like, we're alive. And Nathaniel was like, oh, thank fuck. I thought we were going to have to slaughter these guys. So yeah, this is in that time, because when we covered the Knights-Errant, we kind of jumped a little bit past these events. We got into like 009, 010. So this is happening pretty much right before that, right before Nathaniel goes to ball is about the time that the Dark Brotherhood stuff is happening.
Got
So
it.
yeah, nobody knows that the Blood Angels are alive yet, except for this company, which is or this group, which is essentially 300. It's a relatively large. It's not actually 300 companies. It's like that's their like title. I think it's like 2 or 3 full companies, or maybe 4 full companies, and they're called the 300 companies. I cannot remember their particular stuff off the top of my head. We'll probably get to it when we're in the Blood Angels specific. The second group of warriors were clad in ivory white battle plate, each a suit of Mark II Crusade power armor, heavily modified by the Legion's artificers and bearing the lightning bolt icon of the 5th Legion, the White Scars. The status of the 5th was known to Garro, but he would not speak of such things openly, for now at least. The rest of the Legionis Astartes, now gathered beneath the towering columns of the Xenos Temple, were a disparate mix. No two warriors wore the same mark or armor pattern, nor carried the same class of weapons. In many cases, their arms and armor were a mixture of components clearly acquired from a wide range of sources, some elements entirely foreign even to Garro's experienced eye. The one feature that they all shared was the uniform black painted across their plates, although microfractures, scars, and buffs betrayed hints of older colors beneath, ranging from colors like blood crimson to sea green, hinting at their prior allegiances. Considering the gunmetal gray in which the Knight-Errants themselves were now clad, Garro once again declined to pass comment on the stranger's appearance. At last, the leaders of each group stepped forward into the center of the gathering, joining Garro and his knights. These new Astartes leaders removed their helms so that they could address one another face to face, according to the ancient laws of war. I think it's really kind of cool that there's little hints like this, because that's a knightly thing. When knights would meet on the field, they would remove their helmets to talk, even if they were enemies. They would remove their helmets to have this like cordial discussion.
Well, that's that they said. I don't know how actually accurate this is, but allegedly the origin of the salute was
It's from raising your
raising your visor so that you could reveal your face and match whoever you were meeting eye to eye, so they could see.
I give some credence to that. Not my time period of history that I focused on at all, but I would give some credence to that because that's a very European or Western European style of armor with the face mask that goes up, and that's like very, very significant or very, very widespread in westernized militaries, as to where a lot of like more not traditional, but like Eastern, non-Western world military still clap the fist to the chest, which is the Roman way of a salute. So it's interesting. And then, of course, if you play Helldivers, you put your fist straight up and pump it down for Super Earth. Sorry, get that Helldivers reference in. We show our toes. We have to do the Helldivers.
Naturally.
The leader of the Blood Angels, Saran, declared himself battle captain of the 121st Company of the 300. So, this company is called the 300. Garro knew that the 121st Company had failed to assemble at Nartabo, and Saran then reported how the warships of his command had been caught in a fierce warp storm and cast upon the turbulent currents of the Imperium, swept along helplessly for what the Blood Angels perceived to be a mere scattering of solar days. The vessels were then ejected violently from the warp on the fringes of the Maelstrom, which had been stirred into a raging vortex that cast its baleful tides for hundreds of light years in all directions. So these guys vanished into the warp for 5 years, and to them, it was less than a week.
Dude, everyone on the planet that they were like, returning to, at Ball.
You're like, wait, what are you guys doing?
They missed out on the opportunity. Every single one of them could have gotten like a gorilla costume, and then they land. Like, can you imagine the joke? But like, think about it. Like, they have the opportunity to do this.
The biggest practical joke ever.
You get one shot.
I think the crazy thing about it is that it really points out, because because we cover events and we're trying to give you guys as concise as a timeline as we can when we're covering the Horus Heresy. And the truth is, it's really difficult to cover it concisely for a couple of different reasons. One, history doesn't happen in a vacuum. All
No.
of these events are kind of happening concurrently with each other. Two, specifically in a galactic empire, you've got time dilation. And then in a galactic empire that has faster than light travel, you have extra time dilation. And in the case of Warhammer, where it's the warp, weird shit just happens with the warp. Like these guys vanished for, by their chronometer. Thank you. For like 2 or 3 days, but they pop out and people are like, guys, we haven't heard from you in 5 fucking years.
Right.
Like we thought you were dead. You were marked dead 4.5 years ago because we gave you guys 6 months to pop out.
We cashed in on your life insurance. So this is
Your
like
pensions
really inconvenient.
What's the Space Marine retirement plan is dying to tyrannids. So, I mean, I guess.
The Space
I think it's
Marine
one of those
retirement,
403Bs.
It's none of that. The Space Marine retirement plan is Dreadnought.
Oh,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
okay.
That's true. The Dreadnought retirement plan is death by tyrannid. The vessels fought valiantly to escape the currents of the Maelstrom, and according to Saren, detected Garro's astropathic calls as they traversed the Mirabalis Straits. Though Saran's company, I think I said Saren a second ago, Saran. Though Saran's company had known great hardship during their voyage, for then the order to muster at Nartaba had been issued less than a couple of solar weeks before. Meanwhile, over 4 standard years had passed in the material universe. We kind of just covered that informally.
Mm-hmm.
Knight-Errant, the leader of the White Scars contingent, was a cold-eyed warrior, his stony features marked by a web of intricately applied ritualistic scars. His 500 or so legionaries were drawn from several different brotherhoods, the name that the White Scars used in place of chapter or company. We kind of talked about this before. They had informal unit gatherings called brotherhoods. Garro knew that the White Scar brotherhoods were far more to them than just tactical divisions. Each was a band of warriors so tightly knit that the legionary could no more transfer between brotherhoods than a legionary might transfer between 2 legions.
Yeah.
Marking this out as kind of an odd thing.
Hella loyal.
Yeah. And the brotherhoods are kind of like they were the horse raiding parties. So really, really simplistically, when Jagatai Khan took over Chikores, as they did, as all the Primarchs did, he would fight these different Khans, and each Khan led his own war group. And as the Khan of Khans took each of them, those became the brotherhoods. So they were the brotherhoods under the Khan. And then when the White Scars became Space Marines, they kept that structure. So the brotherhood, for instance, that was really, really good at horse-mounted archery, they became a brotherhood that was really good at using bolters from the back of a speeder bike, essentially. And it kind of just, whatever that was that they kept. So it wasn't like it kind of fit with the company structure, but it didn't really. And the White Scars didn't use they used the brotherhood structure. Anyway.
Okay. They're brotherhood auditions.
It's like, this is the brotherhood in sync. This is the brotherhood backstreet.
Exactly.
This is the brother. This is the older brotherhood. New kids on the anyway.
And this is their younger brothers, the One Direction. Well, a group of White Scar legionaries drawn from different brotherhoods was highly unusual. Garro saw an explanation in the Warrior Lodge tokens many of them bore. Every token carried the same symbol, the serrated beak of a Chigorian raptor. Niran offered no explanation for his presence in the Pale Stars, and Garro did not ask for one. Finally, the leader of the Dark Brotherhood stepped forward and lowered the hood that had obscured his features. In the stark light of Optera's sun, the warrior leader's features were revealed. A mass of scars that twisted his mouth into a permanent scowl, his eyes jagged shards of black ice. Garro knew instantly that the Nemean was indeed the warrior he had been tasked with recruiting to the cause of Terra, but how would he do so given the presence of the remainder of the Dark Brotherhood as well as the Blood Angels and White Scars? Contingents were another matter entirely.
Can you imagine you're there to convince one dude And then like you've got that one dude and his like probably couple of thousands of guys. Then there's
Right.
just 500 fucking white scars that you didn't count on.
Oh,
Plus there's
those guys.
300 or so blood angels that just randomly that supposedly dead blood angels that just randomly appeared. Like, man, this HR meeting just got this Zoom meeting
Heated, yeah.
just got a little more complex.
Nobody's on mute. Everybody's typing at full volume with mechanical keyboards. And somebody's used another fucking baseball analogy.
God.
And somebody invited Tubin. Somebody has the cat filter on.
Oh, God.
I like how that one got a bigger response than the dude who got caught masturbating on Zoom, Emmy.
Oh, God.
Good old Tubin.
Ugh, let's just say I've seen too many just Teams interviews go sideways. You see some shit in HR.
Facing the three leaders gathered at the heart of the ruined Xenos temple, their hosts arrayed out behind them, Garro spoke words he hoped would stir their hearts and convince them to return at his side to Terra. Unsure of the extent of their knowledge of War Master Horus's treachery against the Imperium, he offered a true and complete account of events, knowing that in this matter, above all others, truth was going to be his greatest ally. Outlining the events at Ishtvan III elicited a stunned denial from Captain Saron, followed by a grim-faced and stoic acceptance of his words. When he spoke of the massacre at Ishtvan V, he noted a stirring in the ranks of the Dark Brotherhood, silenced at a stroke by the slightest gesture from their brooding leader. He spoke of loyalist and traitor, terms that were anathema to some gathered before him and yet seemingly familiar to others. He went on to outline desperate battles fought along the leading edge of the War Master's advance towards Terra, and the treachery that had been brought to bear on distant Calth, describing in his own words, for unknown to all but Rubio and Zaven, Garro himself had witnessed the horrors that had unfolded in its immediate aftermath. That's important. Rubio, Garro, and Zaven were all at Calth when it fell, because Zaven and Nathaniel were there to recruit Rubio. Rubio is the one who was like, I cannot do it. I have to be with my brothers. And then essentially was forced to use his psychic powers. And as soon as he used his psychic powers to like save his entire company, he turned around and just saw on all of their faces that he was no longer going to be welcome and was like, well, glad I saved your lives so you could fucking exile me. And that's when he joined Garro, it's kind of one of the, like all of Warhammer is filled, especially Space Marines are full of all of these like tragic stories, all of these like brother turning on brother. That's the whole thing. It's all about how these relationships fall apart in extreme situations.
Paradise Lost, man.
Yeah, 100%. All three Legionist Astartes war leaders listened intently with little interruption until at last Garro reached the reason for his mission into the Pale Stars. Malgador had ordered him to recruit the leader known as the Nemean into the ranks of the Knights-Errant. But before him lay the opportunity to achieve much more, and the Agentia Primus invited all three leaders and their warriors to return with him to Terra, to serve the Emperor's regent in the coming war. Garro then stepped back to stand alongside his fellow Knights-Errant and await a response. Silence ruled supreme for an age before at last Captain Saron stepped forward. If it was true that Sanguinius was lost, Saron, his grief barely contained as he spoke, said that the 121st Company had no place in a galaxy other than the very forefront of war. Saron would bend his knee to no other, he swore, instead stating that he and his warriors would go forth into the fires of the war and seek out the foe wherever he might be found. Garro gave him a grim nod, knowing from the cast of Saron's voice that the Blood Angel would consider no other path. With those words, Saron turned and departed, the legionaries of the 121st Company not hesitating to follow him from the alien temple. And just to be clear, this was not the Blood Angels saying, we are traitors, we are going to fight you. This was the Blood Angels saying, we have to go after Horus now. We have to leave. We cannot come back with you. We need to plunge directly into the conflict against Horus. And this is a thing this is a trope that comes up again and again with the Astartes and the legions. and the chapters, there's a lot of times where like discretion is the better part of valor, and like because the Space Marines are living weapons, that's their entire purpose. And all intent, they're orcs. They're like, no, my duty is in death now. My duty is not in regrouping and strategically fighting and bringing knowledge of the battle so that we can win. My job is to go out and fight right now.
Shiny and chrome, right? That
Yes.
right into the gates of Valhalla.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am awaited.
But I mean, like, they are patterned after, to some extent, like they are understanding of like Viking culture and stuff like that, right? Which is like this notion of like, you see it a little bit in Klingons and Star Trek, the whole honorable death thing, right? Like, at a certain point, like
only in death does duty end.
Yeah,
like
they're so singularly focused on something that like, and they don't see the value sometimes in retreat, right? Like for them, it's not necessarily like honor, but it's duty, right?
Yeah,
like it's
they're not necessarily glory. I mean, they are glory hounding, but they're not necessarily glory hounding. It's much more about, I was created for war. I was not created for retreat.
Yeah, and like my inevitable fate is I'm going to die for the Emperor, you know, killing the Emperor's enemies, right? And so like they're so singularly focused on that like sometimes they jump into the fire, right? Like sometimes they sort of like willingly kill themselves because they're so focused on that's their fate and their responsibility, right?
Right.
Yeah. Next, the White Scars leader stepped forward. His Primarch's wishes in this matter were unknown to him. Until such time as he received orders from the Great Khan himself, Nirun would continue on his current path. What path that might be would not relate to the Argentia Primus nor any other. And with that, Nirun led his warriors from the temple and was gone. At last, the Argentia Primus and the Nemean faced each other in the center of those Cyclopean ruins. The wind that mournfully wailed through those jagged marble columns, the only sound. The Black Shield's lord had but one question for Garro. What about his sire? Before Garro could answer, a bright explosion blossomed in the sky far overhead, followed by the rolling thunder from the explosion. It was a sound that every warrior had encoded into their minds by years of service, a spacecraft dying in low orbit, torn apart by enemy fire. All eyes turned on the sky as debris arced downwards, each fragment as large as a gunship and trailing churning black contrails behind it. In moments, a shout went up from the ranks of the Dark Brotherhood, accusing the Knights-Errant of betrayal as craven as any that Garro had laid at the War Master's feet. Weapons were drawn as curses echoed about the temple, and a second explosion rent the skies.
Oh, they hit the second tower.
They did hit the second tower.
This is the problem with parlaying with pirates. As soon as order breaks down, as soon as it stops being peaceful and calm, everyone draws guns on each other.
Everyone's turned on him
immediately.
Yeah.
That's the main plot of Muppet Treasure Island, actually.
Yes.
They already don't trust each other, and the minute anything goes wrong. But like, I kind of feel like somebody has to be like, whoa, we are still in the middle of a flipping war zone here, man. Like,
yeah, like this entire meeting was called in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah, like,
but it is a dead planet. Like, it's not an openly contested planet. But yeah, it doesn't. It's like,
it is foolhardy to assume that the Knights have anything to are necessarily responsible.
Right. Especially when only one ship showed up. Plus, you just know that two or three major ships took off from other legions.
Yep.
So it's just it's a very tense situation. And it could break at any moment, and then something happens to tip it off that knife edge. And as Drew, you kind of mentioned last episode, as we were covering the conflict between the Alpha Legion and the and the Dark Brotherhood, this is not a group of guys that's like really in a good position to be out for anybody other than themselves. They've suffered at the hands of this war enough already.
Right.
Garro's Vox link came to life in his ear, and the Isubian Herald's captain confirmed what he had already guessed. The traitors must somehow have broken his astropathic cipher, a feat that only the Alpha Legion could have achieved. Chaos claimed the formerly solemn gathering. Black shields bellowed in rage or denial. Some at the skies, some at their brothers, but the greater number at Garro and the other two Knights-Errant. In that instant, Garro's mission to the Pale Stars teetered on the brink of failure, until the Nemean spread his arms wide to ward his fractious warriors back. Locking eyes with the Agenta Primus, the Nemean repeated his earlier demand, what of his sire? Garro answered with the truth. Terra had received no word from the Lion, the Primarch of the First Legion, the Dark Angels. The Nemean responded with a solemn nod, but before he could address his band, a shouted curse went up from his warriors, and gunfire split the air. And this is the last, coffin nail, so to speak, in the idea that the Nemean is not part of the Dark Angels. When Garro specifically says, "We don't know where Lionel Johnson is," and then he just nods, he's like, "Okay. Thanks for thanks for telling me the truth." That's it. He's definitely a Dark Angel.
Oh,
It's just no
100%.
longer in question.
Well,
But it's really funny because all over the lore, it's like, allegedly. I'm like, but he calls the Lion his Primarch. Come
Doesn't
on,
his
man.
sword have something to do with Calibanian?
Yeah, it's a Calibanian flame brand. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, he also
Come on, guys.
he walks in and says, "Where's my dad?" And someone says, "Your dad, the leader of the Dark Angels." So yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty obvious.
Mhm.
But it's also, I mean, even in this instant, he can still command all of these guys. But it's his force of will. It's legitimately, this is watching the pirate enclave fall apart with all of these different warrior leaders, and everybody is starting to turn on each other. They're turning on themselves. As much as they're turning on the Knights-Errant, there's only 3 Knights-Errant standing there. There's
Mhm.
not a bunch of warriors. So these guys are literally drawing guns on the dudes next to them. And the Nemean's power to hold this motley crew of deserters and pirates together is dissolving by the second.
Yeah.
At this point, the Dark Brotherhood fractured into rival groups as vicious close-range firefights erupted. What follows remains unknown, only that the meeting descended rapidly into armed conflict. Hard rounds and las blasts slammed into Garro as he withdrew, Rubio and Zaven attempting to drag him into cover before the weight of weapons fire grew too heavy even for his artificer-wrought Mark VI Corvus battle plate. Garro hesitated, sensing a turning point and an opportunity. Detaching a teleporter Homer from his belt, he locked eyes with the Nemean. The other warrior glanced at the chaos behind him and nodded grimly. Garro thumbed the activation rune, and with a flare of light and a crump of displaced air, all 4 were gone, teleported to safety aboard the Herald, even as the Knights-Errant vessel dove hard through the skies above. Because remember, the Herald is in whatever fucking void battle's happening at this point, because there's definitely a battle happening above what's this planet.
Mhm.
We just have no sense of what that is yet, nor do they.
Yeah.
Right?
This is literally the get the fuck out immediately, and then they do.
In the aftermath of the Alpha Legion's ambush at Optera, a bloody and bitter shadow war erupted across the systems of the Pale Stars. The Dark Brotherhood carved their way across the region, slaughtering any force that stood in their way until they vanished into the Iridarian. Fuck, I added way too many syllables to that. The Dark Brotherhood carved their way across the region, slaughtering any force that stood in their way until they vanished into the Iridane Cataract, not to be encountered again for an age. Under Captain Saren, the Blood Angels threw themselves into all-out conflict as if consumed by the need to atone for the sin of their own survival. The 121st Company clashed with Alpha Legion forces deep in the tainted mines of Cairo 4 upon the inner moons of 771-58 and through the Xenos-haunted mire seas of Sediva. I'm going to go with Sediva.
Yeah, like Godiva, but with an
This
S.
is my favorite
Or it could be
chocolate brand.
Sediva, like
Sediva. Sedavia.
like the way you would say Aida, with the there's sometimes like there's two little dots over an I. So I'm gonna
I'm
say it's
sure there's a listener from the Pale Stars who's yelling about the pronunciation of the
right.
planet right
Who
now.
speaks Sedavan. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Sauron's force was last seen at Siam Zeta 1, where it broke suddenly from a battle they were winning and instigated a hasty warp jump along a vector that would have taken the small fleet broadly in the direction of the Segmentum Solar. History does not record for certain what became of the Blood Angels Company. Mere rumors persist that at least some of the company's number were counted as present at the very climax of the Siege of Terra.
So the implication here is that they were fucking winning, and then Sanguinius was like, "Get your asses to Terra," and they're like, "Oh fuck, boss."
Oh yeah. Hey,
Dad?
Dad.
Let's get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so this is, essentially the White Scars, and well, we'll get into what the White Scars are doing here in a second. But essentially, the Blood Angels immediately start fighting the Dark Brotherhood is having their like fuck everybody war, and
Mhm.
then the Blood Angels are fighting specifically against the Alpha Legion. The Dark Brotherhood at this point is just kind of like the chaotic kid in the middle of the melee swinging, windmill attacking everybody. They don't fucking care.
Oh, of
But
course
it's
not.
it's what Drew's talking about. I mean, like this, it's over. It's exactly what Drew was saying last episode, where like the Alpha Legion definitely has, and we talked about it earlier. They had won. They had control of the system, complete control of the system.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing. This is all to plan. I imagine the Knights-Errant complicate things a little bit for them, but like this was all part of like destabilize, spread misinformation, confusion. I mean, the demon incursion probably didn't help either. But like,
No.
yeah, but like that was also part of their objective, right? They were there to like, as you said, it was essentially by just encouraging bloodshed on either side, by forcing the PDF and the
Dark
Brotherhood to and
PDF,
to engage with one another. All that bloodshed just fueled all that warp energy, right? Like it's just like the Alpha Legion goes into a region with like it's chess, right? Like it's you don't see it coming. They plan out every move in advance. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're just like they're pulling things apart here and here and here and here and here. It is not like this is not the World Eaters. Like they do not show up in drop pods and wipe everybody out, right? It is something way more sinister than that.
Well, and it's that whole like that kind of old argument that people make every once in a while that like it only takes one space marine to take out a planet, like a like an Earth level technology planet, and that's always kind of bugged me. And like that, the exception is the Alpha Legion. I think like 2 Alpha Legion operatives could, but the Alpha Legion fights so much differently than like the Ultramarines. Like the Ultramarine, like, pick any, even the World Eaters, pick almost any other legion. If like 1 or 2 guys, or let's say company, let's be reasonable and say 5 Space Marines dropped onto Earth today, sure, they would do a lot of damage in a direct fight, but at a certain point, that's a zombie movie. At a certain point, there are just 8 billion of us, and 5 of them they're gonna lose. Now, if 5 Alpha Legion operatives dropped onto Earth today, I'm sure every nation would be ready to launch nukes within a couple of weeks, and then the Alpha Legion would sit back and watch what happened and eliminate whatever survived. Because that's how the Alpha Legion fights. The word bearers would probably do something similar because they would stir up like religious fervor and then just watch whatever happened. And like, but for the most part, every other legion is just so direct that it's not going to happen. But yeah, it's that the Alpha Legion unknowingly, well, possibly, allegedly, unknowingly. There's the word that we need to use. Every time you say Alpha Legion, just throw allegedly there on the end. Didn't know about the Ruin Storm because they hadn't been in contact with Erebus. But at the same time, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to. They're making sure that their guys die, preferably costing the Dark Brotherhood cohorts too, because why sacrifice 1 goat when you can sacrifice 2 goats for the same price? But at the end of the day, they didn't really care if just their dudes died because it's still feeding the same fucking mechanism. It's just making them bloodthirsters more thirster. The original thirst trap. I'm sorry.
Blood has got what the thirsters
blood.
crave, right?
Yeah, blood has got what thirsters crave. Less can be said for certain of the White Scars, but one fact alone is known. Knight-Errant and his small force clashed with the Alpha Legion element under direct command of Strike Master Ijax at Ferex Rex, mere solar hours before the raging storm closed in upon the system and drowned it in the raw stuff of the warp. Rogue trader militant Lorne Orpheus was known to have fought at the side of Knight-Errant and his warriors in this last battle. Like this, that's the last gasp of Orpheus's like moment in the Pale Stars, is that he was known to have been fighting alongside the White Scars. That storm has yet to have been lifted, so the ultimate fate of both Legionist Astartes leaders remains beyond Imperial scholars' knowledge. Though no one knows the reason why, the name of the White Scars leader is entered into the roll of honor of the House of Orpheus, hinting at some connection between Knight-Errant's fate and the rogue traitor envoy Lorne Orpheus, as I just mentioned. And to be clear, the two legions that they're not sure, the Legionist Astartes that they're not sure, are Strike Master Ijax and Knight-Errant are having this battle when the warp pulls Fargus Rex into the warp and it becomes a demon world.
That's fucking metal.
Essentially, these two guys could still be fighting the same war. With no fucking clue.
I bet Trazen's got them in like a diorama somewhere with their
fighting forever.
Yeah.
The Nemean would take his place among the 20 chosen warriors that Garro had been tasked by Malcador to gather. Rumors suggested he mustered with the defenders of Terra and stood to the last upon the walls of the great palace as hell itself descended upon the birth world of humanity. As with many tales of the final days of the Horus Heresy, the truth is hidden beneath an echoing expanse of fallen ashes and crushed bones. All that is left of some of the greatest heroes of the soon-to-be shattered Imperium. And that draws a conclusion to this chunk of our coverage of the Horus Heresy. As we've done with the last couple of breaks, we're going to jump into a Loris Obscurus episode coming up, and then we'll do some creative writing stuff. And we will probably have an answer to our first bracket. So there is a Planet Spotlight coming your guys' way soon. We also have a couple of guests that we're interested to announce to you guys. We'll announce to you guys when we have more information, but if we can tease out like as much as we will, we're going to do it now. We're getting some guests signed up on our calendar to bring them to you guys. If you want to get into contact with us about this episode or the show itself, you can reach us by email at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com.
You can join our growing community on Discord and join the conversation about existing lore, world building, gaming, and much more. Find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, or check out our website at underthehiveofmadness.com. Check out our link tree to find links to keep up with everyone in the cast, hobby progress, and internet meanderings.
You can help the podcast grow by liking and reviewing us wherever you get your podcast fix. Our home is on Spotify, but you can find us on Audible, Apple Podcasts, CastBox, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, and more. As always, links and spellings can be found in our show notes. I don't know where I got Shapota. I just started saying a word that doesn't exist.
Naruto Shippuden.
Try the free Shavakadu. Support us through Patreon at www.patreon.com/underthehiveofmadness. Join a fantastic crew of hivers for access to extra content and a chance to snag some cool merch in our monthly giveaway.
Bob's Barbecue Basement Basket, home of the Nuclear Dimacarion 12-Wing Challenge. Think you can best it? That's what the last guy said, and he drank half the sum. Want to take on all that heat? A basket only sets you back 4 creds, and if you win, you get your picture and a t-shirt. And who doesn't want an eating challenge if you don't get that picture and t-shirt? We are the barbarians bang at the gates of reason, the virulent Visigoths of rebellion on the pirate Voxwave 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio. Reminding all of you Chemrats, Hive Mice, and Sump Ghoulies to keep those dials fixed right here. Same ratty frequency for a dose of the same ratty-ass attitude.
Its 6 eyes have been watching me for hours now. Sometimes I catch glimpses of its 4-armed reflection on my picked screen, but I dare not turn around. I can feel its breath, hot and rancid, on the back of my neck, a reminder of how close it is, how inevitable. The scratching of its claws against the metal floor echoes in the small chamber, growing louder with every passing second, matching the frantic beating of my heart. I know that if I make the slightest move, if I even breathe too loud, it will strike, and there will be nothing left of me but a whisper in the dark.
Love it. The way you started was like vaguely sensual.
It's because
we're trying to be like, we're keeping our
sleepy.
voice down.
Yeah, you're trying to. I got you. But it was just the very. I was like, wait a minute. All right, guys, read a motherfucking book.
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow.
That's what Lightning McQueen says.
Yeah. When